But I don't think Putin's going to go. Putin may go in 2 years' time or 3 years' time when the costs of this war begin to seep through.
That's the only way he's going to go.
He's not going to go now, so the peace plan can't be linked to whether Putin stays or goes. It's a peace plan that's on the table. The time element involves the destruction of all Ukrainian cities. I mean, he's ruthless and he's bombing these cities. And more and more refugees are being forced out of the country. 3 million already. There are 44 million Ukrainians. I mean, how many? Are we going to get up to 10 million, 20 million refugees? I think we just have to stop this war and have a ceasefire, even if it is the Russians who essentially get more out of it than the Ukrainian government.
But Putin's, I mean, if you think about that, what was it, 5,000-word essay that he wrote, I think it was last year, you know, the idea that NATO is a threat to Russia is ludicrous because of the fact that it's a defensive alliance.
Well, it's ludicrous to you, but to him, he might say that it's not ludicrous.
Of course, to an irrational person, it is not. But I think that's the point.
Hang on, I think there's rational people that would say that there are examples of NATO not perhaps always acting in a defensive manner. I think that there are people that
I'd be interested in what the examples of NATO invading another country were.
It has expanded, hasn't it? I mean, the one thing, if you look at it, if you're trying to look at it from the Russian point of view, what you have seen is that NATO forces expanding and the forces are closer to Russia than they were.
Because individual nations are taking sovereign decisions about their membership of NATO, not because NATO is forcing themselves on other countries.
That, but they still are closer to the Russian borders than they used to be.
But that doesn't equal a threat to Russia. And going back to the essay, it is clear that actually Putin's ambition is to recreate a sort of czarist kind of empire. And that's why the idea that he's going to say, oh, just a neutral Ukraine is going to be fine, I would have serious question marks over. And at some point, I think you do have to stand up to someone who is just so clearly... I mean, I don't even want to use the word bully because it trivialises it. But I think the idea that we just say, let's give him what he wants and then he will stop... there's no evidence.
Putin did accept neutrality for 14 years until 2014. That was the official policy of the Ukrainian government and indeed in the constitution, that it would be neutral, non-aligned. It was only when a different government came in 2014, started rushing to try and get into NATO, that Putin got excited.
Was this what some might describe as the coup? Is this what you're referring to?
It was a coup. I didn't want to get into that because that's another big argument that people can fight over. But the point was it was neutral before, and then this new, more nationalistic, more pro-Western government came in that said, let's get into NATO. And that's, of course, why Putin took over Crimea, because the big fleet, Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Sevastopol on the Crimea, and he was afraid it would become a NATO base instead of being a Russian base.